Peace. What's going on, everyone? This is Yane. Welcome back to my channel. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button and the like button, comment and share, because I'm really trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by January, and we're almost halfway there, so I think we can do it. All right, so I want to get right into this video that I saw on the Soscast, which is under the Value Entertainment YouTube channel. They had guests Fresh and Fit on. For those of you who might not know Fresh and Fit, they are some pioneers in the podcast world for the manosphere, for the red pill community. There's a lot of things I don't agree with, but there are some things that I do agree with. There's a lot of things in the red pill manosphere world that I don't agree with, but there are some things I really do agree with. I want to get to a short clip real quick about something that they talk about regarding marriage and divorce. So we're going to look at this clip and I'm going to come back with my commentary when it comes to divorce and marriage. All right, let's check this out.
And here's another thing too, ladies. Like, I see that you guys are trying to like figure out why we have this mindset. You're asking these questions, trying to pry. The reality is love between men and women is not the same at all. You know, men, shout out to Rollo Tomasi, I'm sure you guys might have touched on this, and I agree with them 100%. Men love idealistically, women love opportunistically. I understand the fact that as a man, a woman loves you for what you bring to the table. You know what I'm saying? Your money, your income, your status, your confidence, your ambition, your cleverness. There's a whole bunch of different things that women look for in a man before they can actually love and submit and want to be with him. But for men, it's like, you know, we love women for real because we don't have as many requirements of them.
You love women for real? That's what you said?
Yeah, men love women idealistically. This is why breakups hurt men way more. This is why men commit suicide way more when it comes to suicide.
So what do you break down what idealistically means?
As in, it's the closest. I mean, obviously, no love is unconditional, but it's the closest to it. Like when a man loves a woman, he loves her far harder than she loves him back, so to speak. This is why women overwhelmingly, initiate divorce and breakups, etc. And why guys have such a tough time getting over it. Because when a man loves a woman, he loves her for real. When a woman loves a man, she loves him.
I think the stat here is that
how he makes her feel.
Stats are 45% of marriages end in divorce, and women initiate 80% of them.
And how many did men cheat in those relationships?
Doesn't change the fact.
Doesn't change the fact.
What is love? So what does love mean to you?
What's love
got
to do with it?
Yeah,
got to do with it.
It's a bond between two individuals, but we're not gonna sit here and say it's a Disney fairy. Here's the thing, man. I'm just gonna say it. People might say I'm an asshole, whatever. It is what it is. Men put far more at stake when they love a woman versus the other way around. So men need to approach it with their eyes wide open and understand that women love you for what you bring and how you make them feel. And if men understand that, it's going to be to their benefit. The last thing a guy needs to do is love women the way that you guys are trying to go with the Disney fairy tale type narrative, because the reality is you have far more risk when you get married and or deal with a woman than the woman has with you, because with the way the family courts are set up, it's set up for you to lose if everything goes out the window. We know 80% of divorces, like you said before, are initiated by women. 90% alimony is paid from men to women. We know women, divorce rate is extremely high in the West in general. So guys need to understand that when you are with a woman and that she loves you for what you bring to the table.
So again, there are some things that I don't agree with when it comes to Fresh and Fit and some of their views. But there's a lot of things that I do agree with. And I might not agree with how they go about explaining it, but to each his own. But let me just talk about what I do agree with. When it comes to marriage, I actually talk more about how to divorce rather than how to marry, right? Because there is a difference between being love, embodying love, as opposed to being high in love. When you are love, there is no separation between you and love itself. It's you, it's what you do, because you are love. When you are in love, that means you're in a state of consciousness, a state of being, a state that at some point you can leave when you want to, or you could come back to it. When you are love, there is no separation. You are just that. So we're talking about being high in love. And when you are high in love, right, it's important to see how getting married is the easier part of a relationship that chooses to be deeply committed by the traditional perspective of marriage. The romanticism of the honeymoon phase that usually leads to some premature decisions like moving in with each other, marriage, children, right? This is what happens when you are high in love. Everything that gets released in the brain, all the chemicals, you're not thinking clear, right? So how you end is how you finish. If you got into it off of the high of romanticism, then you will end it off of the high of toxicity and anger. Yes, you are essentially high when you are angry, resentful, and deeply bitter towards someone. You once shared love with them, but now you're so angry with them, and you're not thinking clear. So the same way the chemicals in the brain gets released and has you moving without thinking clear when you're in love, it's the same thing that happens when you're in a severely toxic state of consciousness as well. So what it takes to move the most effective way when you're high in love is the same thing that it takes to move when you're high in anger or hate. So if you can navigate with a clear mind in the conflict, you can easily do it in the fruitful times of a relationship. So I teach more on how to divorce rather than how to marry. And this is for a few reasons. On a legal perspective, he's right. Men tend to suffer more in divorces. This is true. It's on a purely financial and legal perspective, much more for men. It's a risk for men to divorce. Not only is it a risk financially and legally for men, but it's also harder for men emotionally, physically. There are health issues that we face when we get a divorce. There's pretty much no emotional support. So all the financial issues we're dealing with, because we really do get hit financially more than women. These are studies that are out there. I might put them up in this video, but if not, I encourage you to look them up yourself. But if we are to face the financial issues and the stress that comes with that, we don't get support in that. I've been divorced before, and I could assure you that most of the people that we were both friends with took her side, and I was left with the responsibility and the weight to handle whatever I'm going through on my own. And it was automatically assumed that I must have done something wrong. It went right over to the woman, and she was supported. She had the emotional support from even my own mother. And I'm not speaking from a bitter place. This is a reality for many men, right? So many times people side with the wife or tend to think that the man could just man up and take it. So there is no support with the pain they may feel. And also, men tend to handle divorce by getting into risky behavior that sometimes leads to unhealthy situations that are physically affecting us, emotionally affecting us. We start to self-medicate. All of this leads to unhealthy decisions, not to mention, more than likely, the wife was the one that we confided in when we had health issues. And now we're divorced, so that's not there, right? Women, on the other hand, are already open to navigating that emotional turmoil from divorce, so they move through it just a little bit better. They usually get more support on a financial aspect and on the emotional aspect. So not only is it extremely unhealthy for men to divorce and financially taxing on men, but 70% of women, they do initiate divorce. Some studies even say 80% of women initiate divorce. And there's also studies that show that most of the reasons of why women initiate divorce is some of them feel like marriage is holding them back. Some of them feel like they've been taking on more of the emotional burden. And also, a lot of women no longer tolerate the behavior that is unacceptable from men. Right? So now I don't teach to get a divorce. I teach how to divorce. Just like I teach how to argue, how to be in conflict. And for you to know how to do this means that you have to know how to be vulnerable. Now, I know some men right now might be like, oh, here we go. We gotta be vulnerable. This is what women are telling us. This is what men don't think like that. Men don't. Listen, I'm not talking about being vulnerable with everyone. And I'm not even talking about being vulnerable with your partner yet. I don't mean that. I mean vulnerable with yourself. You have to allow yourself to be comfortable with the things that are going on with you. Once you're clear with who you are, how you feel, how you're triggered, how you work on those triggers, now you set a standard for your potential partner, a standard that says shit will not be sweet all the time. Do you know how to navigate that? Because I do. Do you know how to say goodbye when it's time? Because I do. Can you do it in a healthy, non-resentful way? Because I do. Do you know how to argue without being vindictive, without generalizing, without deflecting? Do you know how to really apply effective tools to be able to navigate conflict in a relationship? Do you know how to do that? Because I do. I don't only do it with my business partners, but I can do it with my intimate partner. So, do you know how to navigate through discomfort? If you know how to navigate through discomfort, then you will know how to deal with the toughest of times, especially divorce. See, if we teach how to prepare for a divorce, we're also teaching how to prepare for a conflict, how to love deeper than the fairy tale newness of romanticism. If divorce rates are high, that means there's more unhealthy people, because studies also show that men do well in marriage, that they're healthier in marriages. They are mentally and emotionally better when they are with a partner, but lately, more men don't want to get married because they fear divorce. You really don't have to. Divorce can be a loving act if you know how to navigate it. And this is why my book, Into Me You See Guide, which you can purchase on www.ytkservices.com. Description will be in the link to the book will be in the description below. But this is the reason why I created that. It's a self-reflection, intimate journal that I had to do with myself. Because if I speak with a woman and she doesn't know what her triggers are and how she works on them, then we're not going to work. And I don't mean that triggers are somebody else's responsibility. Triggers are not another person's responsibility. They are yours. It's up to you to learn how you need to work on those triggers. But if you don't know how to work on those triggers, if you don't even know what those triggers are, then that means you're going to make me responsible for your peace. I'm not responsible for your happiness. I'm not responsible for your peace. That's on you. Those are individual things that we need to be working on. So when we talk about getting married, that's actually a very easy thing to do. The fear of marriage is the fear of divorce. So let's take away the fear of divorce. Let's look at it as, wait a minute, it's okay if we were together for 7 years and we've tried all these different things and we're just not able to see each other where we are now, because I grew in a way, you grew in a way, and we didn't grow together. We grew in a way where the way we see our lives is just different. So we could say goodbye, and that could be okay. That could be healthy. That could be peaceful. There's no resentment in that. But see, when we have codependence involved, whether that's a codependence on financials or on money, whether that's a codependence emotionally, then what happens is there begins to be a resentment because you're taking something away from me that I was using as my peace. That's manipulative. So we don't want to always focus on the way to get married. We want to focus on the way to divorce, the way to end, the way to navigate conflict. More than likely, if you know how to navigate conflict, you might not even lead to a divorce. Because the ability to communicate in a transparent way, in an honest way, in a loving way, in a patient way, leads you to sometimes depths of intimacy that you needed in order for you to grow as a couple. That's what happens when you even get more intimate with yourself. That's why the Into Me You See guide that I created is for the individual. It's for you to be more intimate with yourself so you know yourself better and you know now what you're bringing to the table as a person, as an individual, not just what your status is. And some men might say, well, dealing with emotions, we don't do that. I beg to differ. We all have emotions. You just need to be able to identify them and know how to work on them and move through them. Because if you don't, eventually you keep looking on the outside of you to validate you, to help you be stronger, and you don't really realize things that you're suppressing. And those become the enemy to your progress. So you need to be able to deal with those. That's why therapy is so important. It's not just important because we just want to feel more. It's important because we want to know if there's anything that's lying dormant within us that somehow can show up as we're trying to progress in life and go get the bag. So learn how to have conflict. Learn how to see divorce in a more loving way. When you see it in a loving way and you're able to really see it as, okay, our time is done here. I still love you, but our time is done here. Now we're not going to be resentful going to the court saying, I'm going to take you for all you got. I'm going to leave you high and dry. That's all coming from resentment and bitterness. And men fear that. Men fear that, so we don't want to get married. And on the flip side, women too. Women too are starting to fear getting married because they don't want to be cheated on. But again, when we have the ability, the skills to navigate conflict and hard conversations, we then reach a place of intimacy that's deeper than the fairy tale, and we might avoid being cheated on. We might avoid feeling like our individuality was compromised. That's why I say I teach divorce over teaching marriage. I don't teach to get a divorce, but how do you get a divorce? Legally set yourself up right. But on a spiritual and emotional level, there is a way that we can do it that's still loving. In a perfect world, do we want a divorce? No, of course. In a perfect world, nobody wants divorces, but they happen. Now what? In a perfect world, nobody wants to have a situation where we have to be co-parents, but they happen. So do we teach enough how to be co-parents? We don't teach that enough either. That's what I got for you. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think? What do you think about divorce being a loving act? Do you think we are educating or getting the education enough to know how to have conflict, how to argue? Or are we more stuck on how do we have this nice fairy tale relationship marriage that lasts for 45 years? Thank you for tapping in. I love you. I love your soul. I love your journey. Peace.